everyone, and welcome back to Kara's Kitchen. I'm sorry I took a little time off. Had some personal things going on, and I did start school and it got a little bit tough. Things started picking up, so I apologize for being away for so long. I just hope that you stay patient. There are going to be videos coming. They just may not be coming as frequently as I would like, but I'm going to try at least to do 2 videos a month. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but that way I can at least get some videos out to you guys and some recipes, so hang in there. Hopefully soon I will be able to start doing it every week again, but until then we'll just do, like I said, just a couple times a month. But I'm so happy to be back. I'm happy to be finally going into part 1 of game day. So today we're going to do some jalapeno poppers and a homemade roasted tomatillo salsa. So if you're like me, I like to snack a lot, especially on game day. So that's why we're here in my living room, because this is probably where we're going to be for a majority of the day. So I have all of my ingredients ready in the kitchen. Let's get cooking. Okay, so I have about a ½ cup of bacon that I already baked and just chopped up, and 1 clove of minced garlic. To that, I'm going to add 5 ounces of softened cream cheese. I'm just gonna squeeze it right out of the package here. And then off to the side here, I have our salt and pepper, of course. And I'm gonna add a little bit of paprika. So this is going to be the filling for our jalapeno poppers, which I have our jalapenos already sliced in half. I cut the tops off and I just used a spoon to scrape the seeds and insides out. If you do like it a little bit spicy, you can use the inside with the seeds and chop it up and put it in your filling. But I just chose not to do that today. I'm gonna save the heat for our salsa. So I have our bacon, our cream cheese, our garlic. We're going to do a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper, just for taste. Or a little bit of paprika. Paprika is kind of smoky, so we'll give it a nice smoky flavor. I'm going to mix this first before I add in our cheese. And you do want about equal parts cheese. So since I have about ½ a cup of bacon, we're going to do ½ a cup of shredded cheese. And really you can use any type of cheese. I'm going to use Colby Jack. Okay, so that's getting kind of mixed in there. You can tell because the cream cheese is starting to turn a little pink because of the paprika there. Okay, very good. So now we'll add in our cheese. I'm just gonna eyeball it. Because it's okay if we have a little bit of extra cheese. Okay. Because who doesn't like cheese? So, I'm gonna mix that in. I have our oven preheated to 400 degrees. Once we get our jalapenos filled, then we are going to pop them in the oven, pun intended. And cook them for 15 minutes. You just want to get this all blended together as best as possible. That way when you, cheese flying everywhere. That way when you bite into your jalapeno popper, you get a little bite of everything. Okay. Almost there. Okay. And there's just a little bit of a mess, that's okay. So we're gonna take our peppers, we're going to do just a spoonful of the mixture. We're gonna put it right in. Smoosh it in. Okay, so we had just enough for all but one, which is okay. because we wanted to make sure that our jalapenos were nice and full. So now we're just going to kind of press it in a little bit, make sure they're nice and smooth. You can do this with the spoon if you prefer, but my hands are nice and clean, so I'm just going to go ahead and use my hands here. Okay. Okay, so into the oven we go for 15 minutes at 400 degrees. So since we are cooking away in the oven with our jalapeno poppers, let's go ahead and start on our salsa. So I have a pan heating up. I have it on medium high. Mine goes all the way to 5, that's high, so I have it between 4 and 5. You want this to get nice and hot before you cook in it. The reason being is you want a good char on your vegetables. So these are tomatillos. I took them out of their kind of leafy packaging, I guess you would call it, and I rinsed them off. I have a quarter of an onion, which I cut it kind of on this hairy part here, the bottom of the onion. And you want to do that so that the onion stays intact, because if you cut the other side, then you're going to have a piece of onion all over the place. And while we're charring it, we don't want that. So onion, 2 garlic cloves, which I just took my knife and smashed them. You still want them in their wrapper here. And then a whole jalapeno. So it's almost there. So the salsa recipe, it's a tomatillo salsa. I do like it a little bit spicy. You will need a food processor or a blender. Otherwise, you can chop it up, but it's not going to have that kind of salsa consistency. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start adding our vegetables in. The pan's nice and hot. You don't want to put any oil. You don't want anything to make this pan wet. You want a nice dry pan. Let's start with one of our tomatillos. Ooh, there we go. Nice little sizzle. And you're just going to cook all of these vegetables in here. You want it to have a nice char, which means it will look dark. You don't want it completely burned, but you do want a nice char in it. That's what's going to give it the flavor. And we cook the garlic and the onion with this kind of outer lining on. That way, one, you develop the flavor a little bit, but 2, it makes it, especially for the garlic, it cooks fast and it can get bitter if it burns. So you want to get that flavor without getting that bitterness in it. So we're just going to let these cook away, just kind of flipping them over. At the end, you'll see that the tomatillos are going to start to look like they're almost boiling inside. And they're going to be a nice dark color all around. Okay, so after about 5 minutes, I went ahead and took the garlic out, just because, again, we don't want it to overcook. We don't want that bitterness. As you can see, the tomatillos are starting to break down a little bit. That's what that sizzle is. It's the juices from inside coming out. While that finishes up, I'm just going to peel the garlic here, because we don't want that in the food processor. It won't taste very good, I don't think. Okay. So as you peel it, you can kind of feel that it's tender, it's cooked a little bit, it's broken down. Okay. So now we're going to start slowly taking a couple things out. So that is our jalapenos. You can see it's nice and charred, which means that it's cooked. And since I just took this out, I'm going to be careful. I'm going to hold it with the tongs. I'm just going to cut this top off. And we'll pop that. Okay. If you don't want the seeds, if you want a little less spicy, you can cut it open and pull the innards out like I did for the jalapeno poppers. If you do want a little kick to it, which I think I'm gonna do that today, since, you know, we're cooking for a bunch of football fans. Sometimes they like the heat, right? I'm gonna go ahead and keep it all in there. So let's go ahead and we'll turn this off. I'm gonna take the onion out. You can see it's nice and charred. And I'm gonna move these to the side here. I'm probably only going to use a little bit of this onion. My husband is a big fan of onion, so I don't always use the whole amount. If you do like onion, please feel free to keep it in there, the whole quarter of it. Okay, there we go. Again, being careful because these are hot. I'm just going to move this over to the side, and we'll use that in another recipe later. Okay, now we're going to take the tomatillos off. And you can see, sorry, I just had to turn it so they're nice and broken open. They're kind of leaking all in the pan there, which is a good sign. That means they're nice and cooked. Just gives it a better flavor when you go to blend them up. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's move this off to the side, and we will get our food processor in and we'll start blending away. We are going to just very carefully start adding things in. We'll keep using our tongs because these are hot. Now you do want to have a towel on hand because you're going to use that to hold the lid, because, you know, you're going to be putting a bunch of hot things in here and it may want to try to come off. Just want to be very, very careful, especially when you do take the lid off. Okay, so we've added everything in there. We're going to do some salt, of course. I'm going to do 2 nice big sprinkles. Sprinkle of pepper. Okay. And then for right now, we're going to do just a little bit of chicken stock, so you don't want it to be too loose. There we go. Just a little splash. So I'm not giving exact measurements because, you know, it can depend on how juicy the tomatillos are, or how dry they are. I don't want to give you a certain amount and it be too much or not enough. So you're just going to want to eyeball it and just kind of get a feel for it. Okay, so it's been a while since I used this. Okay, there we go. The lid is on. We have our towel over the top, and I'm going to start just by pulsing it. And mine does have a little vent, so you just want to be careful not to have your hand right over it, because the steam will come out and you don't want to burn yourself. Okay, so I'm gonna just kind of take a look at it. Again, being very careful because there's a lot of steam. Okay, it's getting there. It's almost broken down. Let's put this lid back on. Okay, so now that it's mostly broken down, we can go ahead and just start blending away. Here we go. Okay. It doesn't take a whole lot, because you don't want it liquefied or anything, completely pureed. Oh, I think that is perfect. And you want to just grab your spoon, make sure your blender is off. In fact, I'm going to unplug it just to be on the safe side. Okay, and we're just going to give it a little stir so it is unplugged. We're going to give it a little stir, make sure there's no chunks, really big chunks anyway. We do want it a little chunky. Okay, that looks perfect. I think I'm going to sneak a little taste real quick. That's good. Has the right amount of salt and pepper in it too. I don't think I need to add anything to it. Okay, so our jalapeno poppers are out of the oven. What do you say we grab those and we'll give them a little taste? Okay, so now that we've done all of our cooking, we are back in the living room about ready to watch our game. But of course we got to taste everything first. So the first one we're going to try is our jalapeno poppers. Let's give them a little taste. That's really good. The jalapeno is still a little bit crunchy to give it some texture, but for the most part it's cooked all the way through, and the filling is nice and creamy, but you can get that little bit of chewiness from the bacon, and it's perfectly seasoned. I'm gonna take this last bite real quick. Okay, so now we'll move on to our salsa. So I did do a little spoon taste test, but I feel like you don't really get a good taste of salsa until you try it with a tortilla chip. So let's dig right on in. Okay. And I got enough, as you can see, there's still a little bit of chunks there. That will give us some nice good flavor and texture. Here we go. That's really good. You get that tanginess from the tomatillos and a little bit of heat from that jalapeno pepper being in there. And which, by the way, I just need to show you this absolutely beautiful color again. So as you can see in there, you see the nice burnt flecks, I guess you can say, with the roasted color. It just kind of, it melts it all together. You see the jalapeno seeds and the tomatillo seeds. It looks amazing and it tastes amazing. So thank you so much for joining me today and watching. Our next video is going to be Game Day Part 2, and I'll be showing you a couple more of my game day favorites for watching football. Of course, you can use these for any games. These are, you know, kind of snack staples in our house. So tune in next time. I'll make sure that I make a little shout out on social media when I'm going to be doing my next one. That way you can get ready for it and look forward to it. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe, and I'll see you next time. And of course, stay safe out there, okay?